Hi, welcome to another episode of Through the Web podcast. Today we're going to talk about AI scams, the Airpods case, which is causing a lot of controversy, and Elon's X app. So enjoy, it's going to be a good one. Cheers.
First of all, we missed last week's episode, so it's good to be back.
Yes,
It's good to finally get back into a space where we can talk about stuff, talk about tech. But yes, I guess those who can check the YouTube video, you can see we're still in the old space, not so much in the new one, even though we did say we were going to move to the new one. Now, don't be alarmed. We are making progress there, bit by bit, brick by brick, essentially. But yeah, hopefully we'll get there in the next few weeks. I hope I don't want to jinx it again.
Yeah, I think just a series of unfortunate events led to us not being able to.
Just life getting in the way, quite literally.
Yeah. But no, it's good to be back. I am recovered. I'm good now. So let's crack into it. So
did you catch anything this week that you want to talk about in terms of watching stuff?
I guess there's two things. You tell me which one you want to hear. Okay. So on the one hand, we have iOS becoming glitchy. On the other hand, we have a digital camera causing a plane to fall out of the sky.
Is that one of those Mentor pilots? Yes. We'll hear both. We'll start with the iOS one.
Okay, sure. So I think the channel name is Luke Many or something like that. And he was just talking about, he's a longtime iPhone user and talking about how iPhones, particularly iOS 16, the last two updates has been extremely buggy. And so he was realizing it wasn't just him. He was hearing about this and he ran a poll on his Twitter and just saying, not a poll, but like a call to action, just saying post your screenshots or screen recordings of glitchiness. And the amount of stuff I'm seeing was just like unbelievable. Like, for example, the dynamic island turning into a square. Oh. And then the phone just like turning off and like not like just being unresponsive.
That's actually unheard of, isn't it?
But and that's the thing. And this is like worse than Android. So it's like, I didn't know about this kind of stuff was going on, like volume slider going the wrong way and like, web pages just like not opening properly and like just really weird graphical glitches and things like that. So it was quite shocking to me that that's happening. So I think Apple decided to release a patch and that fixed some of the stuff, but there's still a lot of stuff that's still pretty glitchy. So I don't own an iPhone. I'm not running iOS 16, so I don't know if there's any of you out there that have been having issues. Let us know. So that was news to me. I didn't know.
Just on that note, we did have a short clip of ours on Instagram, kind of go semi-viral, where you, Dagogo, were talking about how the Samsung Moon photo stuff, right? Where you're in very, favorable towards the technology that Samsung was using, and all the comments were about the fact that you had the MacBook logo in the shot. Yeah. And everyone was like, oh, this is the guy with the MacBook, right? And the funny thing is, little do they know that you actually use a Samsung phone. Yes, that's your primary phone. You've been using it for all this time. And it's funny because now you're kind of, saying something negative about iOS. And if we clip that part, and
then the other side of
the stuff, and maybe Apple fans will be like, oh, then why are you using a MacBook, right? It's incredible how I guess the reactions kind of take place, especially with shorts and even on long form. Want to get into that, but it's actually crazy. I think being a content creator or just been working in media and with audiences over the last decade, it's almost a window into human psychology, and that's very interesting.
Yeah, I've had plenty of experience with that, so I just have come to the conclusion that. Not everyone's crazy. It seems like that, but it's just a vocal minority. They're the ones who take the time to comment. So just remember that.
All right, we'll get into the other video now.
Okay, so there was this military flight. Like it wasn't in active duty or anything. I think they were just transporting some troops, essentially, and they were mid-flight. And because it was a military journey, essentially, they were allowed to do certain things that they're not in regular flight. So I think the captain or the first officer, he was taking some photos out the window and commenting on how beautiful the scenery was and all of this. So he puts the camera down and decides to like push in his chair a little bit, like, electronically. And they're flying a little bit more, and then suddenly the plane like starts nose diving like crazy. And the thing is, this was just mid-flight with no warning. So a lot of people weren't strapped into their seats. They ended up floating to the ceiling. God. So who was it? The second officer, or the third person in the cockpit was out of the room at this time. So he's like on the ceiling wondering what's happening. So he literally crawls upside down, like tries to reach the joystick from the ceiling and like on the other side. So the main pilot who's flying is pulling up on the joystick. Nothing's happening. The second pilot is also pulling up, but yeah, it's not really working because apparently with Airbuses, they have a certain safety mechanism where if each pilot is doing an opposite thing, it balances out. Oh. So I'll get to why there was nothing happening on the first stick in a second. But so the plane was diving, and then the Airbus has this safety feature, which I thought was really cool. I never knew this, but if the plane senses that it's diving too fast, the autopilot disconnected in the first place, so it was just falling basically. Mm. So if the plane realizes it's falling too fast, then it cuts back the thrust on the engines and pitches up automatically.
Right.
So the pilots didn't do that. The plane actually leveled off and entered stable flight. But then eventually, everything kind of normalized and they were like, what was that? And then they went to circle back to the nearest airport. But it turns out during the investigation, what happened was when the pilot put down the camera, he put it in such a way that it got wedged in between the joystick and the seat. So when he moved forward, the camera pushed down the joystick. So it was just that one little thing that caused, the aircraft to just dive. And if there was no safety feature, they would have crashed. So, so the investigation just concluded that obviously a whole bunch of procedures need to change. You can't have loose objects and whatever in a cockpit. But I just thought that story was wild because it's just, the smallest thing. Yeah.
God, send the entire trajectory of the plane.
So, but it was thankfully everyone was okay.
It looks like you've been watching a few aviation related videos.
Not really. That one just came up. I've been watching a whole bunch of different stuff, but I think those two are some of the most interesting. How about you?
For me, this is going to be a mini spoiler for those who watch Succession, but not really. Because so what happened was obviously it was like a big episode this week, right? And there was spoilers everywhere on the internet. And I've got a friend, we kind of look out for each other when it comes to these kind of things. Like I learned not to watch trailers from him. That gives you a better kind of experience of watching something ahead of time. And he was trying to protect me in saying that, hey, there's some stuff that's coming up online for a show that we both watch. He doesn't watch Succession. We both watch. Stay off online for a little bit because just spoilers everywhere, right? And that made me think, like, what do we watch together? Like, what is this show that we watch and we don't? Mm-hmm. And that made me think, there may be something on Succession because that's the only one that I'm watching, right? And then I started watching it, and I could, as soon as the event happened, I was like, oh, okay, now I know what's going to happen. Right. So it's funny because he's trying to protect me, but it worked the other way around.
Inadvertently, it was.
And especially because I'm just hyper aware of those things. Mm-hmm. So that was a bit of an interesting way of looking at it. But yeah, it was a critical event in the whole story, and it was just beautifully done.
Right?
It's
okay.
And again, I'll have to go back and be like, Dagogo, when are I going to start watching this show? It's not for everybody though. Every time I tell a lot of friends, a few of my friends tried watching it and they couldn't actually follow through. So that tells me it's not for everyone.
Is it quite slow or?
It depends what you define.
Like Breaking Bad, I think is slow.
It's slow, yeah. I wouldn't say it's that slow, but there are moments where it can feel slow. But for me, it's a real life kind of scenario, right? With a lot of the stories that take place in the show. So again, I'm kind of banging it a weekly drum on the Succession side of things, but I guess that's going to be the case, and it's the final season. So yeah, I watched it twice actually. The episode, it was
wow,
yeah, it was very good.
I don't think I've ever done that for a show.
For me, it's getting to a Breaking Bad level, this show. Wow. Because, in fact, I said that in season 3, because season 3 ending was season 3 was great. And then they announced that they're going to end it in season 4. And that's what they did with Breaking Bad as well. They went out on a high. Very few shows are able to do that. They usually drag on and on and on. So that's why I think if they can end it well, I think it'll be up there. Because the score is incredible, the acting is incredible, the dialogues are just fantastic, and all the stories are very grounded in real life stuff, right? And this, about politics and media and all that kind of stuff. So those things I already am interested in. I already, part of my work revolves around that kind of stuff. So it's just too good for me. Yeah.
Okay.
Very interesting.
I'll definitely eventually check it out.
Well, I hope you do it soon, man. If you can't do it before the finale, I think it'll be good.
So just binge and catch up every
7 weeks. And it's on binge as well. So binge on binge. Oh, speaking of which, I was watching it the second time. So the first time I watched it on TV, there was no issues. And the second time I was watching it on my desktop. The first time during a streaming service show, I got fed ads. And I was unaware that for the plan that I'm in, they have ads now on. So basically what Netflix is planning to do.
But then how come on TV?
I don't know. Maybe that's
it's rolling out or something.
Yeah, rolling out something. But when I watched it was so annoying. It was the worst feeling ever watching a Guzmani Gomez ad in the middle of like a very important scene, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and I don't know how they're going to implement this, right? Because with YouTube, at least you can place the ads on moments, and I know YouTube doesn't have shows like, proper shows. But previously when they would make these TV shows, they'd actually keep in mind when the adverts would come in. So they wouldn't do it at the, in the middle of a sentence, right? Or in the middle of something happening.
Was that happening?
Yes. Yeah. So the ads weren't placed, at a point where it's okay to take an ad. The ads were placed literally randomly in the middle of the stream. So that, funnily enough, somebody actually commented on our podcast saying that happened in our audio version as well. Because we've got ads placed on audio stuff, and it's like, you broke in the middle of a sentence and I couldn't get back to it for a minute. For that, I do apologize, because we actually can't place ads manually on the audio, but I digress. But yeah, I don't know how they're going to tackle ads in the future for Netflix and stuff like that.
Yeah, it seems like, it could be easy actually. What could happen is it's kind of like metadata for when you make a show. So it's like you make the show, it's like these are where the ads, we want the ads to be. You put a number of slots and you can fill or not fill them. Yeah. I think that's probably the best way. But I hope they do that. But because when I saw it on bench, it wasn't fun.
Yeah,
no, that's terrible.
Well, first news of the day. I just want to go into the world of AI, obviously. But then I guess how AI is now, we're kind of seeing events surrounding the advancements of AI, whether it's good or bad. And the first news I have is pretty negative in the sense that AI has now taken phone scams to a whole new level. So I don't know if you've seen or heard about that.
I haven't. But
so an Arizona mom claims that scammers used AI to clone her daughter's voice so they could demand $1 million ransom from her as part of terrifying new voice scheme. She says that I never doubted for 1 second that it was her. That's the freaky part that really got me to my core, that she was essentially thinking it was a daughter the entire time. I think eventually that didn't go through, but I guess when you get a phone call initially from someone you love and their voice is cloned via AI, and now that's being used for, like someone's kidnapped or taken away, or if they're in the hospital or something like that, like it's going to happen more and more now.
Yeah. A couple of questions though. So what was the incoming phone number, I guess? I don't know if that was mentioned in the article, because if it was something else, like maybe there was an explanation for it, say I'm at this location, someone's taken me, I'm kidnapped. Yes, maybe. But I guess now you should probably just always, if that is some kind of emergency situation from someone that you should always tend to just call their normal phone number just to make sure it really is them.
So they even enacted it in a scene-ish kind of situation. So basically they called from random numbers. This was a kidnapping situation. They called in a random number with a man saying that, that they've got her daughter, and in the background they had her voice saying, "Help me, mom, help me, please help me." So they made it even more convincing. So it wasn't even like her voice talking to the mom directly. So they went, initially asked for $1 million, but then they went down to 50,000.
50?
Yeah, I don't know, it's like a big drop. It's almost like some of the stocks of companies we've covered on Cold Fusion. But essentially after that, I think after calling 911 and calling the husband, they confirmed that the daughter was safe. So stuff like that's going to happen more
Yeah,
frequently, especially for people who are not tech savvy, and even if you are,
this kind of scam, like if you're not tech savvy, good night.
Yeah,
it's over. But on the, I guess, the technical side of it, leaving aside, how bad it is, etc. How did they manage to get the training data for her daughter's voice? They must have personally known her,
YouTube videos.
Yeah, exactly. Personally known who she is and who her mother is. Like they must have to get that training data to be correct.
And so there definitely had been some level of stalking that has gone on. So maybe she has some YouTube videos, maybe she's got other things, but imagine the amount of data there's just out there for any average person. Like you don't have to be a full-time content creator. People just use YouTube for personal videos, holiday videos, all that kind of stuff, or just vlogging to show some of their friends or family, right? So you could easily get that stuff from there and make the connections if you're really, really into it. So I guess that also goes back to the whole point of how much of yourself do you really put out on the internet. That's one. And number two is when you do get a phone call like that, I think the way out is just being educated. Also, just lots of ways to know how you can spot these things. But it's just, again, just so new, right? Like,
but okay, so sorry. So on a video I'm working on now with AI and copyright law, there's a section where there's a discussion about how Photoshop first came into being. And a lot of people thought it would be used for fraud and deception and all of this kind of stuff. But then as time progressed, we tend to accept a little bit of it, but then in terms of actual fraud and everything, we have more measures to actually verify if something is real. So I feel like we're going to have to adjust again. So for images, for example, if an AI generates an image of a president doing something or saying something or a deep fake, now instead of just taking anything we see as that is real, this video evidence or this photographic evidence, it might just be a reflex nowadays to just look at the sources of this information and what there is surrounding it. Because if you see, for example, the Pope and no one's really talking, there's no major news outlet saying what this photo was or whatever, then it's kind of suspicious. So I think we have to do a little bit more work, but that's going to become a reflex in the future.
Yeah, and it's funny because right now, again, it's gotten so good. We're, I think, reaching that what's it called? Uncanny Valley?
Passing Uncanny Valley, if it's looking real.
Real, right? So, again, I think just a few weeks ago, the Artemis mission for NASA.
Yes, yeah.
So they had all these, the explorers who were going to be in the mission, they shared the images of them online. And I remember seeing the photos there, like the headshots and portraits, like really nicely taken photos. They all looked AI generated to me. And I looked at the comments, all of them are, is this Midjourney? Is this AI? This looks like AI to me. And they could very well be, but I doubt it because obviously they have no reason to make it AI.
Yeah.
They were definitely like proper photos taken. But again, we have reached that level.
And just on that note, like it's getting a bit annoying in terms of like people questioning everything. So a lot of people now on my videos are like, are you AI or did AI make this? Or like some of my music people like, did AI make this or is this human made? And it's kind of just like, I don't know.
I think it'll be like that until a point where people just accept that some of it is AI and some of it isn't. But
it changes the meaning.
Yes.
Though. That's the thing. So it's not an arbitrary thing. It's like, oh, it's AI or oh, it's human made. That's quite a fundamental difference in how you perceive something. So I don't know what the path forward is. Maybe we'll get extra sensitive to know when something's AI generated, but then AI is improving as well. So.
Yeah, and that was also defining how AI actually aids some of this creative work as well. So if you look at auto-tune, a lot of people think it's just pressing a button and just everything just fixes by itself, right? But there's some work that goes into auto-tuning in a lot of cases, especially if it's hip-hop music or where auto-tune itself is an instrument to the core of the song. It does take some level of work and creative output, right? But a lot of people, especially who are into just say rock music or metal music, I'm kind of generalizing here,
but people angry here.
I'm into rock and metal for those who are concerned. But I've been that person as well, where I'm like, that's auto-tune, it's just so bad and stuff, right? It's not real talent. So I think there will be some people who'll need to know who won't know how much AI really influences creativity, and even if there's like something minor that would have benefited. I don't know, if you're making a movie and you used AI for storyboarding, and they find out, oh, you used AI for storyboarding, and you didn't get an artist to, painstakingly draw every single scene ahead of time, then that's not valid, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that there has to be that, I guess, intersection between AI and how society views that in terms of creative works. Because if every single attribute of AI that is leaked into any kind of work is just written off, then I don't know, it's going to, I don't know, those people may seem like Luddites in a way. It's because this is going to happen. People are going to use it.
Yes.
It just seems like we have to accept.
Yeah. I mean, somebody mentioned that using maybe watermarks when they're generating these photos or even sounds at some point. I don't know.
Watermarks on sounds just reminds me of pond5.com. I don't know if you've
it reminds me of Audio Jungle.
How they play the thing and it was like pond5.com.
But stuff like that, I don't know if there's something to be said about that argument that, if there's a photo of Pope wearing a cool jacket come out, there's like, I don't know, a tiny description somewhere, but then you can just crop it out or Photoshop
like
it out
no
anyway.
no one's going to follow that.
I think it's just educating the mass that, this stuff's happening. You just got to be on top of it, I guess. Having said that, you did use Kaiber.
Yes.
For an experiment of one of your, I guess, music. It's not a music video, really.
It's like
just like a visualizer. Visualizer of a song that you have, which wasn't by AI. The song was by you, but the video essentially, you made a visualizer out of it. So what was the process regarding that?
Yeah. So essentially, what it was a prompt in Kaiber. And essentially you upload your song so it matches what's happening to the beat and all of that kind of stuff. And I made 4 different, what I would notice is actually when you just have the one raw output and you play it, there'll be some bonkers things that go on. So like, for example, like people's hands will be going crazy, or like it'd have 2 heads or whatever. So I came up with the idea of just doing 4 of the same prompts or similar prompts, and then just cutting between them when something would go nuts so it's coherent. So it's quite at its early stages, I'd say, but it does look better than I would have been expecting. Some of the outputs that you can get are quite good, but I think it struggles with a few things. So human forms in small, like if they're facing the camera in small form, they're like completely garbled.
Right.
And just other things like that. But I think it's shows potential. It's if I was to try and animate this, say I had a song and I wanted to do a visualizer for it in an animated style, I'd have to hire someone that would take a long time to produce, like painstakingly doing it frame by frame, and it'll cost thousands of dollars of their time. But with this, it was in a matter of an hour to generate one render, and that's it.
Yeah, and I think we spoke about that part as well as a designer or a graphic artist. If you're working for other creatives, generally you don't really have a lot of creative input because you as the client would have your own vision, and you would always hear these stories of annoying clients, right? They have their own creative input, but then why'd you hire me? I'm the designer, kind of thing. So I think that's going to solve a lot of those kind of annoyance for graphic designers or animators and stuff. But then that also means that you're going to lose out on jobs, right? That are maybe just client facing or corporates even, or agencies and stuff like that. So I think it will save a lot of time for individuals like yourself who just want something quick and simple, but don't have the time to do it or don't want to spend a lot of money doing it. So
I kind of just see the potential, but the reason it's suited for music now is it's all very abstract. If I was trying to get something direct or something that needs to be a certain way, I don't think it's capable of doing that just yet. But I think, again, in 2 years' time, we'll see it. So
2 years. Look, next on is, according to a report from Insider, Elon Musk has recently acquired 10,000 GPUs as an investment for a new AI project at Twitter. That's the story. It's unclear exactly what the AI project is, but insider sources said that the Twitter is planning to use its data to train a large language model, and speculated that it could be for updating Twitter's search or ad serving tools. OpenAI has used Twitter's data to train its own language models, but Musk said that in December that he was pausing OpenAI's access to Twitter's database. This was in December, and this also comes after he signed a letter that says that we should pause advancements in AIs and then acquires.
Yeah, look, I think it's just doing whatever he wants at this point. It's I signed this letter. Actually, we need AI. Twitter's not Twitter anymore. It's got a Dogecoin.
That's the next part.
And we're calling it the X app. It's like a lot of things. But in terms of using these 10,000 GPUs for training data, I find it strange, mainly because it seems like if they waited a little while, there could be an off-the-shelf option to do this. But that's just my opinion. OpenAI has already gone through their data, so there must be a way to do that from a third-party point of view instead of doing it locally. But I don't know. Maybe this.
But I don't think he's a big fan of OpenAI at this point.
It's definitely not.
Yeah, because he's been very vocal about anything that
I think
that they've done
ever since
recently.
they got bought by Microsoft he just went crazy. But
Yeah.
I know I'm saying not OpenAI, but another third party
Right.
could come in and liaise. It should be a lot cheaper. But a large language model just for search and ad serving. I don't know. I think there's more uses.
Yeah, and I think that's the next part of the conversation. Well, before that, on Monday, US time, the blue bird logo on Twitter's homepage became the Shiba Inu that's associated with the meme coin of Doge.
Yeah.
Yes. And for hours, neither Twitter or Musk even acknowledged the change. It was just there. Some people thought it was a late April Fool's thing. It was supposed to be on April 1st, but I think it happened 3 or 4 days after it came and it went. Nobody just knew what was happening. It was just there for a few hours. Dogecoin went up, it went away. Dogecoin went down, even more causing more confusion. And then I think Musk, as he does in his own fashion, tweeted a meme saying it was a picture of the Dogecoin and the police officer checking with the Twitter logo saying, "Oh, it's an old picture."
Yeah.
The best why I'm bringing this up. It's not a big news. But I'm bringing this up because you called it exactly a year ago when Elon was just in the news of, is he going to take Twitter? Is he not going to do that whole kind of...
Yeah.
And this was like exactly a year ago. So we'll play a clip in this point where you called it.
I just got a flash of like when Elon buys Twitter that the logo changes to like a Dogecoin head. And like
Again, it's not out of the possibilities. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it was a great call, that the Twitter logo becoming like the Dogecoin logo. But beyond that, you were right about the X app thing. So it seems like his master plan for that everything app or the X app is taking shape. He did kind of hint when he just tweeted X this week, just tweeted that randomly, and he didn't go in details about it. But it does seem like, according to Bloomberg, that Twitter had been absorbed into X Corp, citing a document from April 4th that was submitted as an exhibit in a lawsuit against Twitter and its founder, Jack Dorsey. So it just seems like Twitter had merged into a shell company called X Corp, and that leads to that whole idea of perhaps Elon turning this social media app into an everything app at some point, or even using parts of it to create that everything app.
And if I remember correctly, he was saying that in China, apps that are everything apps like WeChat, where you can do your shopping to, obviously social media to everything else, ends up being extremely lucrative. It's one of the best ways in the app ecosystem to make money. So it does sound good on paper, but the other problem is if he did flesh out this idea to an X app to a lot of American users, they're not going to trust it as much. In China, everyone, for some reason, it's a cultural thing. Everyone seems to trust the app and all the brands on it and all that. But for Americans, the rate is a lot lower. So I think it was like 50-60% in China, like trust apps and the brands and all that, but in America it's like 20%. So that's going to be a hard thing to overcome.
Yeah. So I guess for those who don't know what this app is, essentially a super app, or what Musk refers to as the Everything app. It's been described as a Swiss Army knife of mobile apps, with a suite of services including messaging, social networking, which obviously Twitter does, peer-to-peer payments, and e-commerce shopping. So again, it's got everything in it that you might need. You won't have to go anywhere else. Kind of like what I think Facebook tried a little bit a few years ago when they were thinking of adding their own crypto and their own coin as well. Even last year, I think they looked at trying to add their own coin, but obviously that didn't take shape. So it's not completely out of the general question. And knowing Musk, I think it's probably the next path for Twitter. But where does that live? Twitter is the question in terms of, are we seeing the death of Twitter as we know it? Are we seeing it evolve into something, or is it going to be used as a platform to enable those other things?
I'd love to see, well, not love, but I'd hope that the best path forward would be Twitter stays as it is, but other things are added to it in a way that's not too intrusive. So it's not like you log into Twitter and it's got this like crypto shopping center, front facing like interface. I think, slow and steady and kind of just adding things on and testing it would be the way to go. But with the unpredictability of Musk, anything can happen.
Yeah. And if they end up doing that, how does that reflect on other social media platforms is also the question, right? I think with Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and others, like even TikTok now, like would they also kind of take those steps?
Well, no, not at first. It just depends on how successful it is. So if they see that the X app doubles revenue within 2 years, then it'll be like, hey, we got to try to do this as well. And then maybe it'll just be the monopoly of who gets there first and does it the best ends up staying, like in China with WeChat. So it's definitely going to be hard. It's not an easy task, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah,
and I also don't know, you're right about the whole trust issue thing. Would a lot of people move to the Twitter app because of this only? Like, I think that's going to be another question as well, right? I think like who would really use an Everything app? I guess I don't know about the Chinese demographic of their version, but it'd be interesting to kind of get some information there and see, okay, like what's the general populace that's just using this application.
I think the average American, it doesn't really seem to because Elon's obviously gone to China and used it and seen the light. He's like, wow, this is the next big thing. But for the average American, I don't think it's really going to click. Though I guess Elon could maybe kind of translate the idea in a way that's palatable for the American audience. But again, that's hard. So.
But something's definitely happening with X absorbing it, with the 10,000 GPUs that he's gotten. It looks like he's definitely going to make some inroads with AI, and let's see what he turns it into. One other interesting kind of story that I read this week on The Verge was this one data scientist. He basically got his entire group chat and created an AI version of it with his friends.
Let me get this straight. So he has different AI versions of all his friends in the group chat that talked.
So basically he used his existing group chat's information and got their characteristics and personalities into recreating it for himself using AI. So he said, my group chat is laughter and comfort and a point of connection. And I thought it would be hilarious and sort of sinister to replace it. That's the word he uses, replace it. Using the same technology that powers chatbots like Bing and ChatGPT, Miller created a clone of his best friend's group chat, a conversation that's been unraveling every day over the past 7 years. Ever since he and his 5 friends first came together in college, it was surprisingly easy to do so, he says. A project that took a few weekends to work, and $100 to pull all together. But the end results are uncanny. The project was made possible by recent advances in AI, but it's still not something anyone could accomplish. Miller is a data scientist, and that's why he's some sort of, I guess, upper hand with tech of this sort for a while. And I think it's just, again, goes to show, like, would you keep this forever kind of thing? I think that idea of replacing humans at some point, or replacing people who've left, and if one of them is not in the group circle for whatever reason, would you kind of still keep it in memory or just keep it going kind of stuff?
Well, I personally wouldn't.
No, I know, but I'm thinking a lot of people would.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's like that, again, that Black Mirror episode,
Yes.
Be Right Back, where when the chat or like the responses don't end up being what you want or like what that person would say, then it kind of breaks that illusion and it can be even more damaging, I feel. This is not quite related, but about AI and ChatGPT, I guess. So there was some Samsung employees that got in a lot of trouble. Did you hear about this?
I heard you haven't.
So they actually were having some trouble with their code, and it wasn't any code. It was confidential code within Samsung. Like I'm not sure what product it was for, but confidential code. So they wanted to try and fix some of these errors within the code, and they were like, "Hey, we can't be bothered doing it ourselves. Let's ask ChatGPT." So they put it in there, and it happily went away and fixed the code. But then I don't know who raised the alarm or within Samsung, but somehow the company found out that their confidential code was now in the hands of Microsoft in a way. So they weren't happy with that. I'm not sure what happened with the engineers, if they were fired or disciplined, but it wasn't a good situation at all.
Yeah, well, I think the Italy also banned
Italy did, yes.
ChatGPT and OpenAI's products for privacy concerns.
Yeah.
So I'm not, it's not totally out of the question that there could be some issues that people are still kind of trying to figure out in terms of the privacy of these conversations you have with ChatGPT.
Yeah, definitely. There was a data leak by OpenAI not too long ago where for a couple of days or something like that, there was information, I think 2%, Sam Altman tweeted, 2% of all ChatGPT users had their data available to be viewed by other users for just a short period of time. So that's already happened. So there's issues and questions that have to be asked about security, but not just that. There was an Australian, I think it was a Victorian mayor that is suing OpenAI or ChatGPT over false information.
Wow.
Yeah. So
about himself, right? Was it about himself?
I'm not sure.
Right.
I have to check, but I think we're going to start seeing a backlash in a different way, where it's not just, angry artists, not that they're discounted, but people that are disgruntled because it's replacing their work will get maybe some political action from saying either security issues or, this is going to undermine society in some way or another. I think that's the next stage, which we're waiting to see, but haven't really seen it yet. Right. Apart from Italy, I think. Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, look, the final story of the episode is about the AirPod case. I don't know if you saw that. The AirPods case that's likely going to have like a visual display.
Okay, I saw a tweet about this. I think it was from Linus Tech Tips. I'm not sure, but it had like the AirPods case and it had a screen, and then the text was just fire these engineers. I think that was what it was.
Well, the one that I saw was basically someone saying, "I can't believe I've lived long enough to watch the full reproductive cycle of an iPod Nano."
That's good.
But what's basically happening here is that Apple has designs on a future iPods case featuring a built-in touchscreen display that would enable users to control audio sources and interact with apps associated with the connected device. It's according to a newly published patent. So the patent itself is for devices, methods, and graphical user interface interactions with a headphones case, which obviously clearly depicts different versions of a design with AirPods and the AirPods case and touchscreen on the case's front. So I think that, I don't know if that image that was circling around was a leaked image or just someone's interpretation of the patent itself, but
So look, okay, so the thing is, like, you're putting the screen on an iPod, AirPod case, presumably because you want to control your music without any other distractions on your phone, right?
Yeah.
So why not just get a dedicated music device? I'm saying they should bring it back.
But the thing is, you can't. You can only pause, and it's almost like what you do on your headphones anyway. So if you've got a wireless headphone, you can kind of tap it twice for the next song, or you can tap it once for. So that's as much as it will do with the touchscreen.
So just play, pause, fast
That's
forward.
it. It won't have a dedicated memory bank or UI for.
I know. I agree with that. But the thing is, if you can do it on the headphones, why have the case? Are you going to carry the case around? Well, you do carry the case around with you, I guess, but like whip that out every time you want to change a song instead of just using your ear. It's a bit strange, right?
It is.
That's why I think if you want your controls and all you want to do is quickly get to your music, I still feel the need that we don't have to have all our music in our phones. I think we could have a separate device. I don't know why that's so controversial. I don't get it.
Because it's 2023.
Yeah, and Sony just brought out the Walkman again. You saw.
Yeah, but that's like what, $8,000.
Because they know what's up. You know?
Yeah, for $8,000 in this economy, people are just gonna clear out the shelves. I agree, but I think I used to be that person.
Okay, wait. Hear me out.
Okay.
Wi-Fi connected.
Okay.
Beautiful screen, really thin, $150, 64 gigs. Would you take it?
No.
What?
Because it's like just yet another device I have to carry. That's my only problem. It's just yet another device.
We always did it. We always used to do it.
Both of my pockets would be like full. I need one space for my inhaler and my wallet. And so even wallets are going away.
Yeah. When the wallets go away, then this can come back.
Yeah, if the wallets go away, I'll consider
I actually don't carry my wallet most of the time now.
Really?
Yeah. Literally, I just use my phone. It went really quickly. I was like, "Oh, this PayPass thing, I'm not going to do that." Never.
Yeah.
And then when I signed up, I was like, "This is actually pretty cool."
Yeah, because I still haven't moved everything to my phone yet. So, so the other day I forgot taking my wallet to the gym, and I really wanted like a coffee afterwards. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to go back all the way up. It would have been really nice to just get a PayPass.
That's what happened to me.
Yeah.
So once I forgot my wallet and I went out to get I was literally going to do some work outside, get a coffee and everything. And then I was going to pay and I was like, oh crap. Like I don't have my wallet. What am I going to do? I'm literally screwed. And then on the Commonwealth Bank app, I did it right there and there to sign up.
Wait,
yeah.
Don't you need to have your physical card to do that?
I don't think so. So it was set up and went for it there.
Wow. Well, look, I think I'm going to make that move as well very soon. I've been thinking about it for the last 2 weeks. So I think it's time.
Yeah, it is interesting, but it makes me feel like, I don't know, in a way you've lost something, a physical card. It's funny to say that because it used to be cash. It used to be cash that everyone carried around, but then it's a card and now we don't even have
What
that.
other things do you usually carry? Because I know license and stuff will also move. I think it's already moved in a few states already. Not sure about WA, but
the thing is, I just assume I'm not going to need to show my license because I'm not,
driving and stuff.
Yeah, no, but this is just, when I'm going to my parents' house or whatever. It's like.
So there's that. What else? Like I've got a lot of loyalty cards. That's the only problem. Like a lot of coffee shop stamps.
Right.
You get a free coffee. So those are the things that I take up space for my.
I recently put my healthcare card, HBF.
Right.
That's digital as well now. So
so you could get the digital as well. Yeah, I think if I really tried, I could get rid of my wallet as well.
Yeah. So once that happens, then get onto the digital music.
Is Cold Fusion going to come up with that that device?
Oh yeah, why not? The Cold Fusion Plus Pro Max.
Pro Max. There you go. I think that's the end of the show for today.
All right. Well, it's a bit of a shorter one today, but hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again soon for the next episode. Cheers.